Gary Griffith joins us on the Zoom line. Of course, we'll be dealing with that particular issue, and you join us in that capacity this morning. Mr. Griffith, I want to say welcome. Thanks as always for the time and for the accommodation. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Indeed, my pleasure, always.
I just want to get your reaction first, because obviously I have some of the developments that would have featured inside Guardian yesterday. But also, in terms of yesterday, we would have heard from the Prime Minister on his return, and he had this to say about the current SSA situation. I just want to get your reaction after we listen to the comment.
Sure.
Action has been taken and will be taken along the way. Eventually, there may be changes in the leadership, but Officer Brigadier Spencer right now is as good an officer as we could have had to deal with this situation, and he will continue to hold it for a while.
I guess it's in line with what he said a couple of weeks ago when he mentioned who's going to guard the guards. And he said there are some serious concerns about the SSA. He would have said this in the public domain, and subsequent we would have seen the arrests, some arrests last week. And I'm quoting here from the Guardian, yesterday's Guardian, Sunday, May 19th. It says, up until late yesterday evening, so this would have been Saturday evening, police said they were close to completing their investigation, which centered on the illegal use and transfer of high-powered weapons. Of course, Best remained in custody, no charges laid. What's your understanding of all what's happening? I know obviously this probably will go before court and all that. There'll be a long legal process. We wait to see. But your understanding thus far of what's taking place via this SSA debacle, I would say.
Well, unfortunately, yet again, I mean, this is going on 3 years now, where all that we are seeing with this government is nothing as it pertains to any policy, unit, technology, system, program to assist in reducing crime. Nothing. They have not said one thing. And what they've put all the focus on yet again is to target anyone with a lot of rumors and speculation. If you recall the Trinidad and Tobago, this is identical to when it is that we had the Stanley John report. It made for disturbing reading, and 3 years later, not one person has been charged. So Stanley John put a report, and the government just bought that. And that is what is happening now. This is all email gate reloaded over and over again. The Stanley John report is made for disturbing reading. The audit report came after that made for disturbing reading. He said that, and up to now, not one person has been charged. Now, in this situation with the SSA, so let me clarify. With the SSA, as it pertains to firearms, the only persons who have authorization to carry automatic weapons would be police officers or members of the defense force. So when it is that the Prime Minister made the comment a few months ago, when he was stating that the previous commissioner gave approval for military-type weapons to be given to citizens, that was false, misleading, and truly disingenuous. Because a child with a plastic military-type looking water gun, is that a threat? Do you think no civilian could ever be issued with an assault weapon? No commissioner could ever issue an assault or automatic weapon. So that was misleading. They then came into the perception that legal firearms may very well be the ones being used for the crimes we have seen around the country. That is also a total lie, because every legal firearm issued, ballistic testing is done. So if at a crime scene you see a murder and there are the shells, you will be able to pinpoint if it was a legal firearm. So it means that virtually 100% of all the murders committed, the 3,000 odd murders committed in the last decade by firearms, have been by illegal firearms. Now, as we come into this SSA situation, the initial comment by the Prime Minister, if you recall, he said, a previous commissioner of police, because after me suing him several times, he's not calling my name. So he said a previous commissioner of police gave authorization for the SSA to be issued with weapons. That was a blatant lie. Someone actually set up the government, because what happened is that there were 6 police officers who were assigned to the SSA, attached to the SSA, and police officers signed for police issued weapons. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is what usually happens all the time. So by the police officers being assigned to the SSA, seconded, attached, whatever you want to call it, it means that they had authorization to sign for police weapons. It is similar to units such as the Transnational Organized Crime Unit or the Counter-Trafficking Unit in the Ministry of National Security. If police officers are assigned there, it does mean that the weapons have now been transferred to those units.
Well,
if someone is guarding... Yeah.
But let me ask, Gary, and I don't want you to continue, but I'm just trying to gauge as to where we are as a country with the issues with crime, the fear that's a major, major part of our daily existence. And that's supposed to be one of the national security frameworks. It's supposed to be a strong organization, one that their role and function, I would imagine, they're supposed to be on the same page with all the other agencies to bring about that level of I guess that good living, that removing the fear, security, protection. So with all that's happening, isn't this almost undermining, in a way, in a sense, I mean, this is SSA. We're talking about this, we're talking about former people in charge, they're locking up people in different stations. As a matter of fact, Guardian went on to say, now they did not question the men who were taken into custody last week about murders, in relation to murders. However, they're still doing investigations, and there is this suggestion that some of the activities and the murders we would have seen might, and again, they'll have to do the investigation. They're suggesting that some of it might be linked to personalities within the space. Is this concerning to you?
No, it is concerning because listen what the politicians are saying. There's a suggestion that it might be. And this has been used as an avenue now to totally destroy and discredit a previous major in the defense force, a man who was the right hand in the special anti-crime unit, which was under the PNM, an individual who is a church-going person. Look at where this country has reached, Trinidad and Tobago. We are now demonizing persons because they worship their God. We are now demonizing people because they now are very religious. We have about 6 individuals from a church that out of over 400 employees in the SSA, and all of a sudden, the politicians are turning these individuals into a type of Jim Jones with no evidence, nothing at all. This is why I go back to the Stanley John report. Remember 4 years ago, Stanley John did this report, and they keep saying it was a massive, well-oiled criminal industry, and not one person has been charged. Then in desperation, they had to target firearm dealers. They arrested Brent Thomas, and the countries will have to pay tens of millions of dollars because a minister gave instructions for police to leave the country to abduct a citizen. Then we moved on to the audit committee, where the prime minister said it made for disturbing reading. And he wanted to go into parliament, which is the one place you can read fake reports and not be sued. And now in this situation with the SSA, they have now been demonizing people, and all they keep saying is these people are trying to make it look like it's a radical religious church group. Up to now, everything you're hearing is suggestion, might, it may be, and those are all the words you're hearing. Notice that Roger Best was fired on a Saturday. Cabinet decides to convene on a Saturday. Why? Because they were aware that the DPP was now going to throw this out. So, and I'm not here to say that no crime may have taken place. I'm not here to openly just blindly support anyone. I do not know what it is everyone in the SSA will do. But at this time, what we have picked up is that the government, they were misinformed. They heard that police officer, that firearms were issued to the SSA by the police. That was a lie. As I said, police officers can easily sign for weapons belonging to the police in the performance of their duties external to the police service, when it is to guard children of a government minister or the security of the Chief Justice, TOCU, the counter-trafficking unit, or SSA. The second thing, however, is they then said, well, maybe we heard that a senior member of the SSA had an assault weapon. Now, if he's a civilian, he's not supposed to have an assault weapon, except, of course, if he is a serving police officer or a member of the defense force. The information that I have is Major Roger Best is also a member of the volunteer defense force, which gives him authorization to have such a weapon. So all of this that we are seeing yet again, no concern, no policy, nothing to inform the country. This is what we are doing to reduce crime. These are the policies, these are the programs, these are the units. Every single thing has been a fishing expedition, a witch hunt, in a desperate attempt. And bear in mind, in the contrast and hypocrisy, when Special Branch had a damning report that made for disturbing reading of a senior present government official, the Prime Minister said then, that is intelligence, and I'm not going to use intelligence to fire people. So you refuse to use intelligence by the Special Branch to fire your sitting government minister because it's intelligence. What did you do with Roger Best? Roger Best has not been charged. He has not been found guilty of anything. Yeah. It was And the DPP has now released the individuals. So on what grounds did you have a hurried cabinet meeting on Saturday to dismiss a member of the SSC? And again, he's stating that the government, they were blindsided. Based on what? Based on the fact that police officers signed for police weapons? Based on the fact that a senior SSC official who was a member of the defense force had an assault weapon?
Let me tell you, Mr. Griffith, we'll have to obviously, I guess all of us will hold a moment and really wait for this further investigation, or at least the investigation to come to some kind of conclusion. And I guess Mr. Best and others will have to go through their particular means to clear their name and to ensure that their credibility is reestablished and restored. I want to transition to something that we saw over the weekend, the very, I would say, brazen act of criminals to kidnap a business owner, someone who's attached to source doubles. It's a name known to all of us here in Trinidad and Tobago. The young lady's name, Anisha Hussein Singh. I don't know if you saw the footage, Gary, but it was really disturbing. And kidnappings, home invasions, it's a cause for major, major concern and fear among nationals in Trinidad and, of course, Tobago, where we're seeing also an increase in criminal activity and murders. Any recommendations as we go into the rest of 2024, we get ourselves ready for also an election in 2025? What's your particular plan of action? What's your recommendation at this point in time, based on what we're seeing?
Well, I would simply ask the country, do you recall in 2018 or 2021 what happened as it pertained to kidnappings? What happened as it pertains to home invasion or extortion? Those things did not exist, and it certainly wasn't because of COVID. The fact is that it was the only time in our country's history that we were actually apprehending kidnappers whilst the victims were still being held by the kidnappers. That is what you call rescue. Release is when it is you pay the ransom. I never negotiated with criminals. So we used the technology, we used that special operation response team that was shut down because of government interference. And through SWOT, you recall from the Natalie Polony and 9 or 10 other persons that were kidnapped. I would have spent night and day, sometimes 2 and 3 nights straight without sleeping, leading those investigations. And that's why when people speak about the bags under my eyes, it's because of my caring.
Mr. Griffith? Seems like we would have lost that connection. Could we try to get him back? If not, well, I guess we'll have to keep it moving on. But he was giving us that response concerning the kidnappings and some of what we're seeing, the re-emergence, the resurfacing, almost the dark side of that most unfortunate circumstance, because one can only imagine family and how they feel when their loved one is unaccounted for in that kind of way. Mr. Griffith, I think you're back with us. Go right ahead. You were telling us about bags under your eyes and the 3 days staying up all night investigating.
And that was because of dealing with each and every kidnapping. Every time there was a kidnapping, I took it that this was my family, and you have to be there. You have to make sure you liaise directly with the family. So as I said, her mother contacted me yesterday. She said that she's getting virtually no support or nothing from the police. And this is not to discredit the police in any way. There's an anti-kidnapping unit. But I will ask them to please just go back and look at what we did 3 years ago. We had the technology, we had the systems, and that's what I said. So no, this may not be a kidnapping for ransom. We don't know, right? I don't want to predetermine the situation, but there must be a degree of dialogue. When a mother could contact me because she said that nobody else is contacting her, you have, and again, a few years ago, kidnappings ended because the kidnappers realize what it is that Gary and the SWAT are doing, that they'll be able to pinpoint where we are holding the victims. They're intercepting vehicles, they're kicking down doors. That is what is required. It's the same thing with home invasions. Home invasions stopped because the criminals, they could jump the wall, we can't stop you, but by the time you jump back over, we got you. Extortion, we had put that end to it because we were using covert operatives, undercover officers, so as soon as you come for the money, we will nab you. Those are the things that put an end to kidnapping, to home invasions, to extortion. And instead, it goes right back to the initial conversation, JW, where it is all that you're hearing about is to target persons with firearms, target firearm dealers, target firearm holders, target people who were previously in the legal department of the police service, target previous members of SWAT. Now we are targeting the SSA. When would it stop? All that the government have been doing for the last few years would be targeting individuals. It is dictatorship. And instead of the police hierarchy putting focus and emphasis on this, like this situation now with an abduction, You're spending all your time. Trinidad and Tobago, in the firearm system alone, that firearm investigation for the last 3 years, 70 police officers were assigned specifically to see if you could find something on Gary Griffith. There was nothing to find. They were lies. But 70 officers daily, every day, working there for a year, for 3 years, we have spent over 500,000 police hours, over 500,000 police hours, doing a fishing expedition on firearm dealers and legal firearm holders, and not 1 hour spent on trying to stop illegal firearms from entering the country. Well, so I would expect that the police should spend more time in dealing with the criminal elements that being forced and pressured by the politicians to target opponents of the government.
Well, Mr. Griffith, let me tell you, sincere thanks as always for the time. We'll get a chance to touch base again soon. You be safe, and we'll keep our eyes on the news cycle and all the developments. All the best.
Take care.